holy old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session. But you got an affection for no progression, regression. The best don't.
Impact Victory Road took place September the 18th, 2021. My opinion of the show is that they put on very, very, very bland shows. Like, the energy of the show is just meh. I'm just talking straight up white bread. Like, you're just waiting for something to happen and it never comes. And it doesn't mean that it's bad, but it doesn't mean that it just means that nothing happens. So if you didn't see it, so what? And they don't make their shows must see. A lot of it is they don't do it because, these are taped. I think this was a taped thing and spoilers were already out shortly before the show even came out. Of course, I didn't see them, but it's just kind of out there already. So it kind of takes away from it a little bit. But you would think they would do something to shake this show up. And then the crowd reactions are they're okay, but it just lacks the energy that a wrestling show should have. But that's like the main problem. Like most of the matches were technically fine. There was nothing on here that was a disaster. But maybe something should have been a disaster, because then maybe something actually would have happened. But let's go through the card. Steve Macklin defeated TJP and Petey Williams, with Macklin pinning Petey Williams. I don't know what this match was for, but I do know that it was because all of these guys have been fighting each other recently. Like I said before, there's been this thing where TJP, Petey Williams, Ace Austin, Chris Bay, all these guys that just keep beating each other, and they never seem to go anywhere. Now you seem to just be able to add Steve Macklin to that list. The next match was a fatal 5-way match. Black Taurus, John Skyler, Laredo Kid, Jake Something, and Trey Miguel. Laredo Kid wins the match with a Spanish fly from the top rope onto John Skyler. This match was actually pretty solid. It was fun. Jake Something and Black Taurus, they brought in a different dynamic as far as being able to do the strength stuff in addition to the speed stuff. Because, I think this was an X Division match of some description. Laredo Kid is great. He's really good. So is Trey Miguel. And Jake Something and Black Taurus are pretty cool too. So there's a good diversity of styles in here. John Skyler is just a guy who I don't have an opinion of him yet. This is like my fourth time ever seeing the guy. I just have no opinion of him. Tennille Dashwood lost to Taylor Wilde in a match that was incredibly bland. Let's just move on quickly as possible. Rohit Raju was defeated by Matt Cardona in another match that was just kind of like, Chelsea Green returned, pump kicked Rohit. Shira, I forgot what happened to Shira, to be quite honest. But Chelsea Green helped Matt Cardona win, and then they kissed afterwards. Everything's okay. Chris Bay and Hikuleo defeated Finjuice after Hikuleo pinned Juice Robinson. Not a big fan of Hikuleo. Not on that train. I know they're trying to do something with Chris Bay. They're trying to do something interesting with him. I just don't see it working here. I don't know. Maybe it's because I liked him better before he started getting mixed up with all this New Japan stuff and all this Bullet Club stuff. It's just kind of like, whenever somebody joins Bullet Club, it just becomes their entire identity. It just becomes too sweet me, bro, and trying to be extra swaggy. And it just comes across like your dude's putting on black jackets, and it's like you're not the Fonz, bro. No. And plus, like, the Bullet Club just has so many members that everybody just kind of just becomes a mesh of just people coming and going. Nobody ever stands out to me anymore, outside of Jay White. So I kind of like Chris Bay as he was, but I guess he's starting to do the New Japan Strong stuff, so they want him more mixed in with the New Japan guys. But and plus I don't like Juice Robinson and David Finlay, man. They're as interesting as an enema. Sammy Callahan and Eddie Edwards versus Moose and Morrissey. Now this match was actually interesting because something actually happened in this match. So the match was going on just fine. Callahan and Edwards was fighting back. It's a pretty strong match. Then Alicia Edwards was outside the ring. And Morrissey went out there and grabbed her. He picked her up and put her on his shoulder. And of course, Eddie Edwards is like, no, no, no. At this point, Sammy Callahan gets knocked down. And Eddie is attacked from behind. He gets knocked down by Moose. They roll Alicia Edwards in the ring, where she gets power bombed by W. Morrissey. Just like power bombed her in the middle of the ring. It was great. So she was out. She was done. Officials come running to the ring. Referees are down there. Everybody's trying to help her out. She's not moving. She's doing a really good job of selling this thing. Moose and Morrissey are just kind of looking down on her like, we did that. Like we did that. Eddie Edwards decided to collect his wife and carry her away, leaving Sammy Callahan to fight by himself. And he gets obliterated by Moose and pinned. So Moose and Morrissey win. This was a good storytelling match. Because earlier, Sammy Callahan and Eddie Edwards were talking about how they needed to fight for the greater good. And, they didn't want to really team up. But they felt like they needed to because these two guys are a dominant force. And without an equally dominant force, they'll never be stopped. And even in attempt to do that, they still failed to protect one person, which is a very interesting story because they believe, Eddie Edwards and Sammy Callahan, that they are protecting Impact Wrestling from people who would destroy Impact Wrestling or attempting to infiltrate it or downgrade it or whatever, in Morrissey and Moose. But it turns out you can't save the whole company because you can barely save this one lady. Like this is Eddie Edwards' wife here. So obviously this storyline is going to continue, which, may make for interesting TV, hopefully. But Alicia Edwards getting powerbomb ruled. That was great. Rosemary and Havoc, otherwise known as Decay, defeat Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans as Havoc pins Tasha Steelz. Rosemary has spit green mist into Savannah Evans' eyes. This was, I don't know if this was a mistake or not, but Savannah Evans has won nothing since she came. Savannah Evans is so big, and she doesn't really do anything. She just, she's, and Tasha Steelz, what was the point of changing, putting her on her own and giving her a new partner, a new badass partner, and now we're just going to beat her again. She's back to doing jobs. Maybe we ought to just put her in the singles ranks for a while and use Savannah Evans as a heavy. Maybe put Savannah Evans in the singles ranks for a while too. Deonna Purrazzo could use new opponents, and depending on what they plan to do with Deonna Purrazzo. And it's interesting enough she's not on this show, but I know why, because they've been building up the whole Mickie James Deonna Purrazzo match, likely for Bound for Glory. So Ace Austin cut a promo. He says that Christian is the foundation of everything that he stands on, but it's time to look to the future. And he's been inevitable since the first time he stepped into Impact. It's not a matter of if, but when. And it wasn't a bad promo. It wasn't one of his better ones, but it wasn't bad. The Good Brothers defeated Willie Mack and Rich Swann with the Magic Killer on Willie Mack. I didn't agree with this decision. I think Willie Mack and Rich Swann should have won. Maybe they're going to get a rematch, but I don't see the purpose of it, to be quite honest, because they can't beat them. Well, I guess they did beat them once. They beat them once, and now the Good Brothers won the title match. So I guess they get a third match, because now they're 1-1, right? But I just think it was a weird decision to leave the belts on the Good Brothers. I feel like you needed something coming out of this show that made people wish that the show was that they were there, or that they watched it live as it happened. They decided not to do that. The next match was very solid. Match of the night, to be quite honest. Josh Alexander versus Chris Sabin for the X Division title. This match was pretty good. There was no crazy spots, no over-the-top stuff. There was an interesting spot where Chris Sabin did a super kick and his headgear came off. Josh Alexander's headgear came off. But the finish was the C4 spike. They shook hands afterwards. Josh Alexander, has now taken his place upon the pantheon of great X Division champions. The next match, Christian Cage defeats Ace Austin. Fulton was thrown out before the referee even saw him do anything because he was threatening to do stuff. This, of course, set up a great spot later where Fulton returned from the crowd and pulled Christian over the top rope. Kind of like a bounced his throat off the top rope. He took a bump. Ace Austin did a flying whoop-de-doo and got a really good 2 count. It was a really dope 2 count. Another dope 2 count was Christian's when he counted the fold, which is a running blockbuster. He countered it into a spear, so that was pretty sweet. But the finish came from a kill switch. Christian just plain wins, beats him pretty flat. And that was really kind of a big problem here is a lot of these guys just won just straight up, just flat win. Not too much in the way of angles after the match or anything like that either. It just kept match after match after match. So if you're interested in just, pure matches without any kind of, very little promo, very little in the way of story being told or antics being involved, no swingers palace or nothing like that. But there was an interesting post-match to the main event where Josh Alexander came out to activate option C, which is he is surrendering the X Division title so he can wrestle for the World Championship at Bound for Glory. And if I remember correctly, there was a pay-per-view for this. Wasn't there? I think it was called, Destination X, where that was the only pay-per-view where you could, if you were the X Division champion, you could turn in the X Division title and win and wrestle for the world title. And I love that idea. I'm surprised other wrestling companies haven't picked it up. I know WCW had that for a long time with the United States title, where if you had the United States title, I forgot how many times you had to defend it or how long you had to have it, but you were the number one contender for the world title for the duration of your run. So you can get a world title match. And I know NWA does something similar with the Lucky 7, with the television title, where if you defend your title 7 times straight, you get a world title match. So I think that's a great idea. I think it puts a lot of emphasis on the mid-card titles, and it makes them more important. And Josh Alexander, he hasn't beaten everybody, but he's essentially cleared that really terrible field that I was talking about earlier of this fighting the same people over and over again. I mean, there's still some opponents there for him if they really wanted to do it. I think he has beaten Chris Bay already, but maybe I don't remember. You also have he had a great match with Black Taurus. No, he had a great match with Jake something rather. But you still have the Laredo Kid there. You have Trey Miguel there. I think he wrestled with Trey Miguel too already. You could have dipped some other guys like Eddie Edwards or Sammy Callahan into that division for a little while. But this is, I said they need to build a guy to take the title, and it seemed like that guy was Josh Alexander, and it was completely came out of left field for me, because when I saw him running, I was like, okay, Josh Alexander is cool, but I didn't see him being a world champion. But now I have an idea that he probably will be, and I like it. As long as he wins the world title, this was a great idea. If he ends up losing this title match and giving up his X Division belt, that's going to be a tough do. But I like it. I like that he's taking a risk. I like that they set it up beforehand. It's not hot-shotting. Because, when they were partners, Josh Alexander said it'd be a pleasure to be able to wrestle you. So it's good. This is fine. I'm okay with it. This is their version of WrestleMania, but this is not at all their version of like Cena and Rock or anything like that. It just goes to show that Impact needs stars. They need energy. It goes to what I was saying about this show. It needs some stars, man. It needs some energy. And part of it is the AEW. Part of it is the New Japan stuff. They need to do something different that other people aren't doing. Which is why, I kind of suggested that. I don't know if I suggested it in Impact videos, or maybe I was just thinking about it, just didn't say it out loud. But they probably need to start doing what other companies aren't doing, and that is bringing the luchadores in. It's the craziest thing how everybody has a women's division, and they don't tap that luchadora vein. Like, there are almost no Mexican women in AEW, and there are none in WWE. You know, I mean, like luchadors in Mascardo, like wearing masks and that kind of stuff. Like, they could bring something so different, especially since Impact does the man on women stuff, which is what they do in Mexico too. Like, bringing in Lady Shiny or La Hydra or somebody like that could be really fun and bring something interesting and something different to Impact. You know, especially since Deonna Purrazzo is the AAA Women's Champion there already anyway. It's a great idea. Do something different to make your show stand out and make it the reason people want to watch it. You know, because as it goes right now, unless you're really interested in the physical manifestation of a wrestling match, you know, just two guys going in there wrestling, there's nothing else for you at Impact. And the crazy thing is, somebody asked me that earlier, like, should I watch Impact? And I was just kind of like, if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, sure. I just happen to be one, you know, but even I have a difficult time getting through Impact sometimes, you know. But let me know what you guys think if you watch this show. It's not bad. It's not great. If you skipped it, you didn't miss anything. You can see the clip of Josh Alexander challenging for the world title, and that's the most noteworthy thing to come out of the show. Outside of Alicia Edwards getting powerbombed, which was fucking cool. All right, so like the video, hit the like button, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later, man.